Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is Leah Casanda, and I am the project manager for the 5 Points Transportation Study. I work for Whitman Recart and Associates, and we're a consultant working with DeIDOT. Today, we are going to be presenting on the status implementation of the 5 Points Transportation Study. This presentation is a supplement to an in-person open house held on May 16th. But wanted to make sure that those of you who could not join us in person, you have access to all of the great information made available at the workshop. So the purpose of today's presentation is to provide updates on our 2021 accomplishments and also to discuss our goals for 2022. The 5 Points Transportation Study is a great model of a successful partnership between DeIDOT and Sussex County. These project team members are deeply engaged in moving this study forward. I would especially like to point out Todd Lawson, the Sussex County Administrator, and Pam Steinbach, the Planning Director at DeIDOT, both of whom sit on our working group. Before we get into the status updates, I wanted to provide a little bit of background on the transportation study. So really, the goal was to develop concepts and recommendations to improve local traffic circulation at the 5 Points intersection and in the surrounding area, which you can see on the map outlined in red. The focus from the beginning has been serving local residents and businesses, and has been informed by both the working group as well as public input, the county's comprehensive planning process, and data and technical analysis. You will see the projects we've developed address both Route 1 as well as local connections and incorporate a number of current capital projects. So the first phase of the transportation study began way back in 2017. And during that phase, the working group developed 78 recommendations. Since 2019, we've moved into phase 2, which is the implementation of those recommendations. So those recommendations really fit into 5 different categories. Some are to be implemented under current DeIDOT projects or initiatives. The next category looks at policies and procedures that can make the area more efficient, sustainable, and beautiful. Others are really focused on making the most out of existing roadway infrastructure. The red category on the screen focuses on multimodal connections like walking, biking, and transit, and developing those as viable alternatives to driving. And the yellow category really is looking at new infrastructure that will support anticipated growth in the area. So since the beginning, we have been using an annual report to keep you abreast of what the working group and the study has been up to. So if you go to the 5 Points website, you can visit the studies and reports section and find the recently released 2021 annual report. Now, the annual report includes a couple different sections, including meetings and communications, as well as our implementation progress and construction progress. But let's start with meetings and communications. So I've mentioned the working group a couple of times, and you may be wondering exactly what does that mean? So our working group is comprised of 19 different members, and you'll note some of those folks, as denoted by the asterisk, have been involved with this effort since the very beginning, since 2017. The working group met virtually in 2021, 4 different occasions in January, April, July, and October. And those meetings are open to the general public, and I'm sure some of you might have attended one or all of those. The study definitely benefits from your active participation. Moving forward, working group meetings will be 3 times annually in January, April, and October. In 2021, there were also 2 online public workshops, both of which were held last May. Like this workshop, those events really focused on the progress made during the previous calendar year. So now for some updates on the status of the study. So firstly, would like to let you all know that DeIDOT's Capital Transportation Program is moving through the adoption process. In February of this year, the Council on Transportation approved the FY23 through 28 Capital Transportation Program. And Federal Highway Administration is expected to approve that document this coming fall. 9 new projects in Sussex County were added to the new CTP, and 3 of those are in the vicinity of 5 points. And if you're interested in learning more about the CTP process, I'd like to encourage you to go to ctp.deldot.gov. So, in addition to those new projects, a number of 5 Points area projects were carried forward from the previous CTP, including everything you see on screen. Again, we're not going to get into a detailed recap of the status of each of these projects. However, if you go to deldot.gov/projects, you will be able to see current status of each of these projects. In the current CTP that's moving through that approvals process, there are 3 projects within the 5 Points area. One is the extension of Mulberry Knoll Road. Also, improvements to Postal Lane between Linden Lane and SR1. And lastly, improvements to Shady Road between Plantation Road and SR1. And we anticipate preliminary engineering for all 3 of these projects will begin in FY28. So when we look at all of those projects together, DeIDOT is making a $194 million investment over the course of the next 6 years. Now that is combined state funds shown in blue with federal funds added in orange. So that is how those funds will be spent over the upcoming fiscal years from FY23 all the way through FY28. In addition to this workshop, there's a number of other ways you can stay involved and up to date on what is going on. The first place to go is our study website, which is regularly updated to share information about what's going on. And you'll see there, even on the website, there's an opportunity to subscribe to the 5 Points email updates. And that's called Following 5 Points. And if you subscribe, you will receive regular notice from the 5 Points working group on what's going on, as well as information on upcoming meetings. Generally, we send these out on the months when there is not a working group meeting. So it's kind of the alternating months where we provide Following 5 Points updates. So now to get to the status of all of our implementation items. We made really great progress in 2021. So 55 of our 78 total recommendations, which represents 70%, were underway or complete as of the end of 2021. Ongoing means recommendations that are part of DeIDOT's or the county's everyday way of doing things. They really will never be able to be classified as complete, so we always anticipate those 7 will remain as an ongoing task. But it is really remarkable that we have made this much progress in 3 years, especially for an effort of this size and complexity. So another way to look at our progress is this bar chart here. So that really shows from the beginning of 2019 all the way through the end of 2021, how different implementation items and recommendations have moved from longer term in gray. That column is kind of getting smaller, and then our in progress in light green is getting bigger and bigger from year to year. And then our kind of complete category as well. So we've actually fully completed 21 of our 78 initial recommendations. Now I'm going to spend a little time reviewing some of our notable achievements during 2021. So one project was the installation of the radar speed sign. I'm sure many of you have noticed on southbound Route 1 close to Nassau Road. Delaware Transit Corporation has also been working hard in partnership with the working group to upgrade and improve transit shelters in the 5 Point study area with their new statewide standard shelter. Also, the trail network has benefited from the installation of rectangular rapid flashing beacons at the trail crossing of Freeman Highway near Cape Henlopen Drive. Additionally, there's a new crosswalk across Kings Highway at Gills Neck Road outside Cape Henlopen High School. A right-hand turn lane onto US 9 from minus Conway as part of a pavement and rehabilitation project was also accomplished directly as a result of the 5 Points working group. And lastly, a pretty big project, the widening of SR 24 between Mulberry Knoll and Route 1 was complete. Construction continues on many projects, and we anticipate start in 2022 or 23 on these projects you see on the screen here. And I know Savannah Road sidewalk improvements are already underway early in 2022. So expect to see DeIDOT crews out around you working on all of these great improvements of the area, many of which directly address the recommendations coming out of the working group. So what are we up to in 2022 besides construction? So the working group is continuing hard at work on 27 recommendations currently in progress, as well as continuing to work with private developers on transportation improvements relating to their developments. We also are planning to begin work on 4 recommendations before the end of the calendar year. And those 4 recommendations are right here. Endorse don't block the box legislation with camera enforcement. There's a star next to that one because that's the one that is already underway. So DeIDOT is working with local elected officials to draft legislation, and we'll be bringing that forward soon. 3 other things that the working group is highlighting this year is working with Beacon Middle School and Love Creek Elementary School regarding their access onto Mulberry Knoll Road. We will also be looking at developing design guidance to separate pedestrians and bicyclists from highway traffic, and developing really nice aesthetic, attractive treatment options there. And lastly, evaluating the potential transportation benefits, costs, and impacts of a new road connecting Route 1 north of 5 Points and the Vineyards. So more details on all of these recommendations and status are provided in that annual report. So I encourage you to check that out if you've not already. But if you haven't, also feel free to fill out a comment form online at your convenience. Please just visit the 5 Points website at 5points.deldot.gov. And really, if you have any questions or concerns or would like to speak to one of us, we will definitely get back to you. So thank you again for tuning in. Our next working group meeting will be held on Monday, October 24th in the evening, and that location will be determined a little bit closer to the date. And if you have any questions about the projects, also our DeIDOT project manager, Jen Snelly Miller, is available, and her email information and phone number are available on screen for you. Thank you very much and have a great day.